They say the desert remembers shame longer than rain. And out in Calico Bend, I learned just how heavy a memory could be. Folks talk about that day like it was a legend. How a woman lost her hair, her pride, and nearly her children, all before the sun reached its peak. But truth is, I carried that day in my bones, and I reckon I still do. The wind howled through town that morning, kicked up dust so thick it tasted like judgment. My feet were bare, cut and blistered from the gravel, and every step echoed the stairs boring into my back. I could feel my scalp burning under what sun was left, after Silas Kane, my late husband's kin, held me down in that chapel and sheared me bald in front of my own brood. 7 pairs of eyes watched, too empty for tears. They said it was justice, for tempting men, for too many mouths in a house that was never really mine. All I remember is gripping little Ruth's fingers, her doll trailing behind us like a memory I couldn't shake. The townsfolk peered through cracked doors, clutching their shawls like I was the plague itself. No one spoke up. Maybe they never really knew me, or maybe they just loved a spectacle more than mercy. We reached the dry well. Not a drop left. Not for us. My oldest, Tom, he was only 9, but stood like a man, shoulders squared, jaw set. I tried the mercantile next, even offered my boots for a drink, but Mr. Withers just shook his head. "Ain't interested in disease," he spat. I nodded, pride holding me upright, and turned back to the road. East into the brush, anywhere but under those eyes. Out past the last fence post my legs gave. We huddled under a mesquite tree, shade so thin it hardly mattered. I remember thinking, this is how we die. Quiet, under an open sky, with no one left to remember we ever mattered. That's when I saw him, a lone rider in a buffalo coat, face rough as old leather, eyes shadowed by the brim of his hat. Wyatt Harlan. Folks called him the widower, but they never said it with kindness. He rode up slow, dismounted, and took off his hat like I was worth respect. Tom tensed, ready to throw hands with a grown man if he had to. Wyatt just offered a battered tin flask. "Ain't poison," he said, voice low. "Just water." I wanted to spit, to tell him I wasn't a charity case, but pride only feeds you so long. Tom took the water, passed it to the little ones, and none of us tasted shame. Wyatt knelt beside me, looked at the dirt instead of my eyes. "I got space. Food, too. Come if you want. I'm not taking your name or theirs." I didn't have words left, so I just nodded. He helped us up, careful but not gentle. The children clambered into his wagon, board creaking under their weight, bellies hollow as drums. I sat up front, back straight as I could manage, counting every mile until dusk painted the sky purple and gold. The ride was quiet, except for Wyatt, humming some tune I didn't know, and the soft breathing of my children behind me. His ranch sat at the bend of the Red Arroyo, white house, and a willow out front. Barn flanked by chicken coops and windmills spinning slow. Wyatt laid blankets in the hay and handed out cornbread. Didn't say grace, didn't say much at all. That night, I watched my kids curl up like pups, one by one. He left me a tin cup of broth on the porch and said, "You don't owe me anything. Just rest while you can." Then he disappeared inside. I sat out there for the long time, watching stars blink to life, the ache in my chest easing just a little. I brushed my scalp, stubble rough against my fingers. For the first time since Micah died, I let my eyes close before dawn. Morning on the ranch was different. The kids woke slow, blinking at the sunlight peeking through slats in the barn. Ellis, always first, stood watch at the door. Wyatt met us at the gate, feeding oats to a gray mare. "Pump's out back," he said, not bothering to look up. Cold water bit at our hands, but laughter bubbled up from the little ones. Sound I'd nearly forgotten. Wyatt showed the twins how to pull potatoes, let the baby ride on his shoulders for a minute, just because she reached up and he let her. I moved through the kitchen, fingers trembling over pots I didn't own. Wyatt rode into town for supplies. I found flour, beans, and cooked by memory. Nothing fancy, but enough. When he returned, he just stood there, silent, smelling the food. We ate in the barn, passing bowls like some kind of communion. I held my chin high, steady as I could manage. Gossip, of course, ran wild. A widow and her litter, living under a man's roof without vows. But the ranch had its own rhythm. Wyatt took Tom out to mend fences. "They talk about her," Tom said one day, eyes darting to the horizon. "Call her names." Wyatt just tightened the wire. "I know, but I'll make sure they never stop you." That boy looked up, measuring him, and nodded. Neighbors started leaving things: cornmeal, apples, soap. They didn't stay long, but it was a start. Wyatt filed a deed, splitting part of his land among my kids. Never said a word about it. I found the paper tied with twine, tucked next to my sewing tin. Didn't cry, just cooked breakfast in the main house next morning. I kept my hair uncovered, let them call me what they pleased. Pride is a stubborn thing. Wyatt left a cherrywood comb on the table, no note. I used it that night, cut my own hair even, then sat beside Wyatt on the porch while he smoked his pipe. We didn't talk much. Some wounds run too deep for words. But I told him about Micah, about fever, and the preacher's lies. He told me about Clara, the wife he lost, about pain that never really left. The moon hung low and heavy, and for a minute we were just two lost souls keeping each other company. Trouble never sleeps long. The preacher, Silas, came back, waving forged papers, calling my kids illegitimate, my presence an offense. Said I had no claim, no ring, no blood right. I'd had enough. Dressed in my best gray, boots scuffed but sturdy, hair brushed flat, I marched into that chapel. He called me the prodigal, accused me of sin, of raising children in shame. I looked him dead in the eye. "You took my hair, my home, my pride. But you can't take what I built with my own hands." The crowd grew at the doorway. For the first time I spoke, not for forgiveness, but for justice. "I survived what you did to me. My children bear their father's name in grief and in hope. This land, these lives, ain't yours to judge." Wyatt stood at the back, silent, watchful. The preacher hissed about law, about title. The registrar produced the trust Wyatt had filed. Land in my children's names, signed and stamped. The preacher went pale, his power slipping like sand. The town murmured, shifting away from his shadow. Silas stormed out, shoulders hunched, and nobody followed. I stepped onto the courthouse steps, the rain just breaking, sun turning mud to gold. My kids ran to me, muddy, barefoot, laughing. I pulled them close, feeling pride bloom in my chest like spring after drought. That night, I set a ring on the table, a ring that once belonged to Wyatt's wife, found in a drawer, kept safe. "I won't be bought or caged," I told him, voice steady. "And I'll burn this whole town before I let shame take me again." He just nodded, eyes steady. Wouldn't have it any other way. At dawn, we planted seeds, kids with dirty hands, Wyatt carrying water. We worked side by side, hope breathing in the damp air. The world felt wide again, full of things that might grow if you gave 'em the chance. And if you ride through Calico Bend come spring, you'll see a willow waving in the breeze, and you'll know not all scars show on the skin, but every last one leaves a mark on the land.